This Wednesday morning edition of Pucks Across Borders on Sports Addict Live and Total Apex Sports, brought to you by none other than First Round Collectibles. Right now, with our promo code Sports Addict, you get 10% off whatever sports card your heart desires. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off, and with our promo code Sports Addict, not only do you get 10% off of regular price items, but sales items as well. Hockey, football, basketball, baseball, wrestling, boxing, the list goes on. First Round Collectibles has it all. Head over to there today and find your heroes. That's the number one, STRoundCollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans.
Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, the beast back. Adrenaline pumping through my veins, can't relax. Original, I am not the same as these cats. I sting them if they never.
Welcome to Pucks Across Borders on Sports Addict Live and Total Apex Sports, brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Thank you so much for joining us. It is so good to be back on a Wednesday after a full night of hockey in the NHL. Boys, playoffs. We're almost there. We were just going over our playoff schedule, playoff previews, when we're going to do all that stuff, and I can't wait. I'm getting tired of this NHL regular season, man. It feels like all the compelling storylines have been the only storylines for like the last couple weeks, and I'm just ready to move on, man. I can't wait for the playoff slate, but we still got games to break down. Still got much more hockey to get into before then. 3 games in the NHL tonight, plus we'll go over what we saw from last night. But before we do, introductions as always. I'm Mark Sauter. Good to be here as always. And right beside me at the top of your screen, you read his work about the NFL on Gridiron Heroics. John, how we feeling on a Wednesday morning, bro?
Pretty good. I think we did pretty well on yesterday's marathon slate. Not as many games today, but hopefully we'll still give you guys the right picks. And I'm right there with you, man. I'm kind of ready for the regular season to be over, and I'll explain why a little later.
And at the bottom of your screen, you read his work about the NFL on Gridiron Heroics. You read his gambling picks on Winners and Whiners. You see him all over Total Apex Sports talking NFL, MLB, NBA, college hoops when there was college hoops. He talks about it all, and he's with us today as always. Andre, how we feeling on a Wednesday, bro?
Feeling pretty good. Can't complain here. Really big day yesterday. A lot of moves, a lot of noise. Ready to talk about it right now, honestly.
100%. So let's get into it. John, we'll start with you, man. What was your takeaway from the NHL last night?
So I said in the intro, I'm ready for the regular season to be over. And part of why I said that is because last night, officially, my team is no longer relevant in the playoff race. At the hand of your boys, Mark, we have been mathematically eliminated from playoff contention, and that wasn't about just last night, though. That was a long time coming. Realistically, we were out of it for quite a while, at least mentally, even though points-wise we weren't that far behind. But just a disappointing year for the Devils. And, of course, Jack Hughes got hurt right before that decisive game last night. So just adding insult to injury at this point. Absolutely miserable season as a Devils fan. And coming off a miserable season as a Giants fan, can only hope the Yankees play a little better in baseball. So my takeaway is the Devils, I think I think they finally stopped the waiting for us fans. We were kind of waiting for this to happen. Disappointing year. And I guess we can only look ahead now.
Yeah, and I'm going to be curious to hear it in when the regular season's over, or maybe in the summer, what's really up with Jack Hughes, because doesn't it kind of feel like, unless I'm missing something and I didn't hear something, but doesn't it kind of feel like, okay, we're done, he's having surgery, like maybe something's been lingering for a while. It's kind of hard to say. But yeah, I feel you, man. Disappointing season for your boys. And it's that kind of like chicken or the egg. Maybe that's not the right analogy, but it's like, was it overachieving last year, underachieving this year, somewhere in the middle? Will be interesting to see what they do moving forward. And from a national hockey media standpoint, we're going to be hearing about the goaltender for the Devils all summer long. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Andre, over to you, bro. What did you take away from the NHL last night?
Dread it, you can run from it, but destiny arrives all the same. And in this case, that means the Washington Capitals, because of an Alex Ovechkin goal, finding themselves in a playoff spot again. A huge game with the Red Wings in Detroit yesterday, and Washington came out on top 2-1. It was, both teams were struggling. It was just as bad and boring as we expected it to be.
Yeah.
But the team with a negative 40 goal differential decided they didn't want to die, so they didn't. They have the last wild card now. They're still only 2 points back of the third spot in the Metro. Since basically everyone in the wild card race has played 78 games, there's no more games at hand to, talk about, do the math for, whatever. Except for the team now at the bottom of that wild card race. But we're going to get to them in a minute. Just for now, Washington Capitals, future Stanley Cup champions that they are, do what they do, get back in that playoff spot.
Yeah, and I want to segue this into a conversation about the most excruciating, whatever the word is, painful playoff race that I can remember in a while, because at first it was exciting, and then it's like, oh, like none of these teams actually can win games. Like, this is awful. But I do want to segue that into a conversation about this race, because as the days go by, the number of teams eligible for the playoffs gets lesser and lesser. And listen, let's start it off with this. Get it out of the way. I told you guys on the show yesterday, Andre, you were about it. John, you didn't want to listen. Viewers at home, I hope, or wherever you are, I hope that you took our advice, got some plus money on the Montreal Canadiens beating the Philadelphia Flyers. What was the main reason why I said Montreal was going to win? Because the Philadelphia Flyers cannot keep the puck out of the net. I thought Montreal was going to win, but 9-3? 9-3, you're fighting for your playoff lives, and you lose 9-3 against the Montreal Canadiens, who I have said many times this year, I think the future is very bright for Montreal. I thought this was a very good season. Like before the season started, I thought this was the perfect scenario for Montreal, because they're just good enough to where you can see potential moving forward, but they're bad enough to where you won't be surprised if they finish last in the league. And so this whole season for Montreal was house money, and I give them props. But listen, Philadelphia, you're fighting for your playoff lives, and you get smoked 9-3 against one of the worst teams in the league. It's just embarrassing. I know mathematically it's really, it's close to being over because of where we are in the season, but they still are right there. And this is where we kind of segue into the wild card conversation. I'd be interested to hear what you guys think. So Philadelphia, 83 points now after their 9-3 loss against Montreal last night. 83 points. Detroit, 84. Pittsburgh, 84. Second place in second wild card, Washington Capitals, as you mentioned, Andre, 85 points. Shout out to Ovi for getting his 18th, 30th, 30-goal season, by the way. Washington Capitals, 85 points. They're in the second wild card spot. 1 point ahead of Pittsburgh, Detroit, 2 points ahead of Philadelphia. Then you have the Islanders, who have 87 points, 2 points up. They're sitting in third spot in the Met. Now, I've taken Philadelphia out of this equation. I think I'm just bitter. I'm not saying that they can't find a way to make this work. I have pulled up 4 schedules, and none of them are Philadelphia's schedules. So we can get into it if we want to. I haven't broken it down yet. I just, looking at this team and watching what I saw last night, like, it's just an epic collapse. And you can say they're young. You can say that they weren't supposed to be here, both of which are true. But still, man, you have it in your hands. You're letting it slip through your fingers, and then you cap it off. And we went through the schedule yesterday, man. They've had bounce-back games of all bounce-back games. They lost to Columbus 6-2, Montreal 9-3. Like, it's not like they're just losing. They lost to Chicago 5-1. Like, it's not like they're losing their season because they're losing to the Rangers or the Hurricanes or the Avalanche. Like, they're losing to these teams. Like, it was right there for you, and you're throwing it away, and it's disappointing to watch. So, Washington Capitals, 85 points. Washington plays Buffalo tomorrow night, Tampa Bay on Saturday, Boston on Monday, and Philly on Tuesday to wrap up their season. So if Philadelphia stays relevant throughout this whole stretch, that last game against Philadelphia could be an important one. Then you have the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are tied in points with Detroit, and they play Detroit tomorrow night. They play Boston on Saturday, Nashville on Monday, and they finish off the regular season against the Islanders on Wednesday. So if Pittsburgh stays relevant and the Islanders have a hard time winning over this stretch, those two teams could be playing for a playoff spot come next Wednesday. Then you have the aforementioned Islanders, who play Montreal tomorrow, Rangers Saturday, Devils Monday, Pittsburgh on Wednesday. They seem to have the more favorable stretch here. But then you have Detroit, who has Pittsburgh tomorrow, the Leafs on Saturday, Montreal in a home and home on Monday and Tuesday. So, boys, passing this over to you, Andre. We'll throw it to you first. Out of these 4 teams, we're going to do an Eastern Conference playoff preview probably Thursday. Talk about the West on Friday, next week, that is. Which of these teams do you think we're talking about? It could be 2 teams. Probably 2 of these 4 teams. I just don't see Philly figuring this out, but you never know, I suppose. But who of these teams do you see us talking about on Thursday for our Eastern Conference playoff preview?
I mean, I can't write off the Capitals. It's just that simple for me. I know their schedule, looking at it with Tampa and Boston, is tough, but those are also at home. Those aren't back-to-back. They could win one of those, you know. We've seen weird things with this team. They possibly win both. You can't assume anything with this team, but you have to think, you know, they keep that momentum going. They beat Buffalo tomorrow. Philly next Tuesday. That should be a given. I don't know if Philly's going to win a game again. I see the Capitals in one, whether that's Metro 3 or wild card, not to be determined. Red Wings, I don't see in any of them, so I guess throw them out. I think Pittsburgh's going to beat them tomorrow. I think your boys are going to beat them Saturday. I think they're going to split with Montreal, so you're looking at 2, maybe 3 points down the stretch. That's a no for me. Penguins, God, this is going to suck. Penguins or Islanders? It's looking like the Islanders, man.
Yeah.
Montreal tomorrow at home. They've been playing very well, especially at home. So you have to assume that's 2 points on Thursday, and they already have a little bit of an edge. They have 87. Everyone else is at 85, 84. So, keep the pressure on with that 89. In the Garden on Saturday might be their only remaining loss of the season, because after that they have Devils, who, John, it seems like your boys have punted on the season, and then they close at home with Pittsburgh. So they might win 3 of their last 4. They probably will win 3 of their last 4. By the time it gets to that Pittsburgh game at the end, they might already have a spot, whether it's the wild card or Metro 3. So I'm going to go Islanders and Capitals for the last 2 spots.
John, what about you, dude?
This is a tough call. I'm starting to agree about Philadelphia. Not even just last night, just the way they've been playing the last 2 weeks. I don't think they're going to turn this around. Like, this is getting really bad. I know they're only down by 2 points, so I suppose it's possible, but I got to say, it's starting to look like the Islanders are going to get one of these spots. They're up by 3 points with 4 games left. Definitely not an impossible deficit or anything, but it's a comfortable lead right now. The only thing I'll say is that I don't believe the Islanders have tiebreakers over anybody. So I think that could be the one thing that helps teams like Detroit and Washington maybe catch up. Big win for Washington last night. I mean, you guys talked about it on the takeaways. It was huge. I'm starting to feel like the Islanders are going to get it done. They'll get one of the spots. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but maybe Pittsburgh gets the second one. I'm still not buying Washington for some reason. Even in Detroit.
You're a fool.
And Detroit loses every big game they play. So how can I pencil them in? But I think Detroit is the best team in the bunch. I'll say that for the record. But they're not playing like it. They're not winning the games they need to win. They're not stepping up when it matters most. So that concerns me.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm feeling like Crosby or Ovechkin will find their way in. One of them will. Give me the Penguins. Why not? That hurt. That hurt.
Look at John not getting gaslit by the Washington Capitals. This guy thinks he's so big and mighty.
Yeah, I know.
All for him.
I know. See, the thing is, and I should have done this before the show, and my brain's not fast enough to do all this on the fly, to go through point calculation and how many points and blah blah blah. I just look at it like this. Who knows, man? Washington, could they lose to Buffalo tomorrow? Absolutely. They're on the road. They're playing Buffalo. They could absolutely lose that game. I don't know if they will or not. Who knows? Then they're home against Tampa and Boston. I can see them losing both of those games. Now, Boston and Tampa both don't really have anything to play for. Tampa is basically locked as that number 1 wild card seed, and Boston is pretty much locked as the number 1 team in the Atlantic. So both those teams could be kind of coasting into the playoffs. So maybe Washington could win those games for that reason. They play Philadelphia at the end of the year. Now, Philly only has 3 games left. They have the least amount of games left of all these teams. And I'm a sucker, and I did look it up. And they play the Rangers tomorrow. They're going to get smacked. They play the Devils on Saturday, which is a potential win, I suppose. And then, like we said, they play the Capitals to finish off their season. The way that I look at it right now, I have no idea. I could see Washington going 0-4 to finish off the stretch. I can see them going 1-3. Maybe if Tampa and Boston do coast, they could go 3-1, 4-0. Like, who knows? I do feel like the Islanders are getting the goaltending right now. Varlamov has been playing very, very well for them, and I feel like the Islanders are playing their best hockey at the right time. They haven't lost in April yet. I think beating the Rangers last night obviously was a huge step, but the Rangers were really coming on in the end of that third period, and for the Islanders to kind of hold down the fort and get the win was huge. I do think the Islanders find a way in just because, I think at worst, you have Montreal tomorrow at home. You guys, like we already talked about it, they play the Devils, Rangers, and Pens. That's at worst 2-2. And I think that that's going to be good enough. They're already 3 points up, 2 points up on Capitals, and 3 points up on everybody else. So I do feel like if you go 2-2, I feel like that's good enough to get in. I don't know, boys. I feel like Pittsburgh's got some destiny in them, man. Like, I feel like Pittsburgh wins that game tomorrow against Detroit. I think Detroit slips sliding away here. I don't think Detroit makes it. You got Boston, you got Nashville, you got the Islanders. Those are 3 really hard games to finish off the year. So I'm probably saying Islanders and Capitals as well. But gosh, I'm not like you guys. I don't have this Pittsburgh, this like vendetta against the Penguins, because I'm in the Atlantic and I never have to worry about them. And I haven't seen the Penguins play the Leafs in the playoffs since the early 2000s. And back then we were playing Yager and Lemieux. So, you got Crosby now. So for me, I'm going Washington and Islanders as well. But gosh, I would love to see Pittsburgh find a way to sneak in. I would love it. More importantly, I'm a sucker and I bet on Crosby to win the Hart just for fun yesterday. So, and that won't happen if they don't make it in. So I'm a little bit biased, I guess, to my wallet there. All right, let's move on with the show. Bad beats from last night. John, let's start with you, man. In the gambling world, in the NHL world, what's your bad beat?
Nothing too horrible last night. Overall, good night. But I think the worst beat for me was from the Buffalo-Dallas game. I was on the I feel like 2 of us can have a bad beat on this one, but I'll say my end of it. I picked the Sabres on the show to get an upset win yesterday. It was kind of my bold pick of the day. And in the first period, it was looking good. They had the lead, scored 2 goals early on. But Buffalo kind of just, I don't know, they died after that. They didn't score another goal the rest of the game. And Dallas ended up winning 3-2. So I think in the first period, that was looking all right. That was looking optimistic. I don't remember exactly what the money line was, but I think it was over plus 180. So that would have been a nice hit had Buffalo hung on, but I guess it was a lot to ask to keep it up for 2 more periods. Bad beat Buffalo Sabres, and they really needed that game too.
Yeah, they're basically done. I think there's like a slight mathematical chance if everybody loses every game and they win every game. I think there's like a slight chance that they can still get in. I'm gonna go next just because I'm gonna segue off of your game and I'm gonna pick the same game. And for me, same kind of context, different bad beat. I picked the over in that game. I had a nice 4-leg parlay last night that had the Rangers Islanders over, which was it the most controversial over that I think I've ever had. The Islanders cross-check the Rangers. I can't remember who the player was, Andre. You might be able to help me there, but they cross-check them from behind. Should have been a penalty. Wasn't a penalty. Islanders go down, get the fourth goal to make it over 5.5 total. So I got that. I had the Leafs winning, got that. I had Montreal winning, got that. I had all those in single bets, so I got some money on all those. But I also had as a single bet and part of that parlay, Sabres Stars over 6.5. Buffalo, the first period's over. There's already 3 goals. Both those teams score a lot of goals. Both those teams have been allowing a lot of goals, although the Stars have shaped up defensively as of late. Going into the third period, 3-2, and you would think there would be at least one more goal in the third period to at least sweat a 6.5, but nothing. Crickets. Just a really boring third period. I think, Andre, you described it in the pre-show as sleepy, and I would agree with you. Nothing. 3-2 going into the third, and not one goal to finish off the game. So, yeah, really frustrating on my end. That's my bad beat. Andre, what do you got?
Well, it was Vinny Trocheck, Vincent Trocheck, whatever you want to call him. Who got
Gotcha.
checked, absolutely mauled into the boards, and we see them soon. So there's going to be something for that.
Yep.
But I'll keep mine short and sweet. And part of this bad beat is probably just my fault for tying myself financially to what may be the worst team in the salary cap era. But the San Jose Sharks were up 2-0 at home. They're playing the Flames, who we yesterday described as hopeless. And the Flames, give them credit, nothing to play for, rallied back to win 3-2 in the tank. So that's my bad beat, because that Sharks money line is looking sweet. It's off to a great start, and then it quickly crumbled.
Yeah, it was juicy for sure. All right, before we move on to the 3 games that are on the ice tonight, I will say, as an honorable mention to our takeaway segment, the Nashville Predators lose to the Jets last night 4-3, but they did so in overtime, which gets them a point and solidifies their spot in the National Hockey League Stanley Cup playoffs for the 9th time in 10 years. So congrats to Nashville. Pumped for you guys. It looks more likely than not something would have to go very sideways for this to not be the case. Looks like they're going to play the Vancouver Canucks in the first round of the playoffs. And oh boy, that's going to be a good round. That's going to be minimum 6 games, and I cannot wait for that. As much as the Nashville Predators jerseys look like puke to me, like they just don't, the color scheme is horrendous in my view. A playoff home game in Nashville is a sight to see, man. Those guys go nuts down there, and there's just puke yellow just everywhere, and it's cool. Cool to see. So that's going to be fun. Congratulations to them. Although I will say this, they made it. Didn't they make it to the Stanley Cup Finals once in the 2010s? I can't remember who they played.
They played the Penguins 20. The Penguins went back-to-back against the Sharks and the Predators. I feel like the Predators were the 17 run.
Gotcha. So besides that run, I do feel like Nashville has a bit of Toronto in them, where it's like, oh, good, we've made it to the playoffs for 9 out of 10 years, but what if we made it to the Cup Finals once, which is more than Toronto can say. But yeah, so it'd be interesting to see. And on that note, playing Vancouver, we did get word this morning. At least I saw it this morning, that Thatcher Demko and Elias Lindholm are both practicing right now for the Canucks, so that's good to see. Awesome. So let's move on. We'll talk a little bit more about the Western wild card playoff race a little bit as we move on, but let's get into these games. First one, the St. Louis Blues are home. All they can do is just win, right? It's still mathematically a possibility. It doesn't look good, but all they can do is just do what they can do, and that's win hockey games. Hope that Vegas loses hockey games. The Kings lost last night, helped them out a little bit. All you can do is win. So, St. Louis, you're home. You're minus 245 favorites. Chicago plus 200 underdogs on the road. The over is 6 at plus 105. The under is 6 of obviously at minus 125. Minus 125 is the Chicago Blackhawks puck line. Minus 1.5 for the Blues is plus 105. John, let's start with you, dude. What do you see in this barn burner tonight between Chicago and St. Louis?
Real playoff implications here, right, boys?
Yeah.
So because I don't think this game really matters much for either side, I'm going with the Chicago Blackhawks in an upset. I just think the Blues are a little I don't know how to say this, like deteriorated, like they maybe like upset that they're pretty much out of the playoffs now. I don't think this game really matters for either side. I know the Blues are technically still in playoff contention, but with Nashville clinching last night, they gotta be aware that their chances are getting less and less. And I think we all agree they're pretty much out. This would be the perfect type of game for them to lose in this situation when you pretty much have to win the game. And of all teams to end your season besides your arch rival, I think this is a game the Blackhawks will get up for more than anything else. The young kids get to end the season of arguably their biggest rival or their second biggest, if anything, depending on how you feel about Detroit. I'm going to go with Chicago in this game. I just feel like you have to take that side if you're going to take anything here. And I just feel like they could steal this one.
Andre, what about you, bro? What do you see in this game tonight?
Yeah, unless they're playing the Sharks or the Flyers, there's no reason to touch anything involving the Blackhawks on the road. It's kind of worked all year. And the Blues,
The Flyers.
Yeah, there's not a lot of hope, but there still is light at the end of the tunnel. If they win out, there's still a chance. So you need these 2 points. It's against a god-awful team. You're at home. For one of the last times this season, I can't remember the schedule offhand, but I feel like they only had...
They're actually... You're talking about St. Louis?
They finish at home. Yeah, they're at St. Louis.
Yeah, so they're home. St. Louis is home for the next 3 games, and then they finish the season in Dallas.
Okay, I thought they only had one more home game after this. Regardless, it's the Blackhawks on the road. The Blues have been finding ways to score. The Blues have been a tough team at home all season. I'm going to back them to not only win, but win by multiple goals because it's still got pretty good odds, especially for a game against the Blackhawks.
Yeah, John, you watch your mouth, bro. The St. Louis Blues are alive and well, and they got tons to play for, and it all starts tonight. The Chicago Blackhawks, 5-5 in their last 10 games, actually kind of playing their best hockey right now. The Blackhawks, whatever best means, been their best. 7-27-4 on the road are the Chicago Blackhawks, which is what Andre kind of laid out as fading them on the road has been working all year. They have not scored, and again, this is a weird Mark Sauter trend. I don't know if this really matters, but I noticed it in losses, which there have been many. They have not scored 2+ goals in a loss since February the 19th in Carolina. So when they lose, they lose. On the prop side for Chicago, Bedard kind of slowing down a little bit. He has 17 shots on goal in his last 5 games for him to get over 3. So that's like averaging just about 3.5 shots a game over the last 5. For him to get over 3.5 is plus 105. So that's something worth a sprinkle on. On the St. Louis side, Kyrou has 23 shots in his last 5 games, which is just under 5 shots a game for those who can't do the quick math. For him to get over 3.5 shots is minus 115. So I really like that play tonight. As far as the game itself, St. Louis 5-3, 5-3-2, in their last 10. A sneaky good home team, and I feel like Andres talked about this throughout the season, but St. Louis 23-13-2 at home. They're still alive, and I'm not saying that they're going to make it, but I think they go out there and I think they take care of business, and I think they win by 2 or more goals. And I'm taking St. Louis plus 105. I don't like doing anything when it comes to Chicago games because weird things tend to happen, and Chicago has been noted over the last couple of years as the playoff killers. So it's a little bit risky, granted, but I like St. Louis plus 105 at minus 1.5 here tonight. I will quickly lay this out as we segue into Vegas and Edmonton, which is going to be a phenomenal game, really the only good game of the night. Vegas, 92 points with 5 games left. St. Louis, 87 points with 4 games left. And Los Angeles, 93 points with 4 games left. St. Louis needs to win tonight. Vegas needs to lose tonight. This is a quick breakdown of the schedule moving forward. St. Louis has Chicago, Carolina, and Seattle all at home. That's an easy, not easy, but that should be a 2-1 stretch. And they finish off the season in Dallas, and Dallas will have nothing to play for. That's a foregone conclusion. They'll have nothing to play for that game. So I can see St. Louis going 3-1 here in the last 4 games. Then you have Vegas, who has the Oilers tonight. That's going to be a tough game. They're in Edmonton. Minnesota, Colorado, Chicago, and Anaheim to finish off the season. So aside from the game tonight, those last 4 games, that could be 2-2, maybe 3-1 as well. I feel like they're going to lose tonight, but we'll get into that in a minute. And then you have Los Angeles, who has Calgary, Anaheim, Minnesota, and Chicago. So the Kings, if the Kings somehow miss the playoffs with that stretch of games to finish off the season, then they deserve to not be in the playoffs. I feel like this is really between St. Louis and Vegas, and both of these 2 teams have some favorable matchups. So, John, I'm sorry to say it, I feel like we're going to be talking about St. Louis for a little bit longer than you think, man, but we'll see what happens tonight. By tomorrow morning, my take could be dead entirely. So we'll see what happens. The Edmonton Oilers are hosting the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Edmonton minus 120 at home. Vegas plus 100 on the road. The over is minus 120. The over is 6 at minus 120. The under is plus 100. Plus 1.5 on the Vegas puck line is minus 238. Minus 1.5 for the Oilers puck line is plus 195. John, let's start with you. What do you see in this game tonight?
Tonight will be very telling how long we're talking about the Blues because of what you said, 2 big games for their stake. I like Edmonton in this game. I think offensively Vegas can't keep up, and goaltending-wise, I was surprised to see, I keep forgetting about this, that Edmonton actually is better at goals allowed than Vegas. I forget Vegas went for a stretch where they were allowing everything in. So I think on the season, Edmonton's actually better there. Would have never thought that off the top of my head. Offensively, I just think Edmonton is too much for Las Vegas. It's asking a lot to keep up with them. But I will say this is a little lower than I thought it would be. I would have thought the Oilers would be bigger favorites, but maybe it's because Vegas needs the game a little bit more. I'll say if Edmonton wins, they pretty much lock up second place in the Pacific and still keep their hopes alive of stealing the division from Vancouver. But yeah, I just have a feeling Edmonton's going to pull this out. Or at least that's the side I would go with.
What about you, Andre? What do you see here?
I'm also leaning slightly towards Edmonton. I mean, these teams, I feel like they played each other tight both times this regular season. Obviously, they met in the playoffs last year, so there's a lot of history, familiarity in this matchup. So I wouldn't take a runaway on either side, but I just think the Oilers are playing better. I think the Oilers are just a flat out better team, and they are at home in this. They have the top guys, if you will. They have been better at stopping pucks, like John said, all season. Both PKs are meh. The difference being the Oilers have one of the scariest power plays in the NHL. So I'm going to take the Oilers to win this game. I think it's going to be a little bit higher scoring. I might lean towards that over, but it's hard at minus 120 at home, especially just with the way they've been playing, or at least the last pair of games for each team. It's really hard not to love the Oilers here.
Yeah, I'm actually right there with you guys. Vegas 6-3-1 the last 10. They've really rounded into form. Their road record was actually kind of surprising to me, though. 18-6-6. They have lost 2 in a row. Vegas has, but they were 7-2 before that. Interesting kind of side note on Vegas. Yes, with regards to this game, but even moving forward, I don't really know what to make of these guys moving into the playoffs when it comes to their goaltending. Even Aiden Hill, when he was healthy, it just so in the last handful of games, they've allowed 4 goals, 7 goals, 3 goals, 1-1, pretty good. Then they allowed 5, and then they allowed 1, 2, and 1, and then 5, and then 1, and then 4. I don't really know what we're seeing from this Vegas goaltending and from the Vegas defense. And so this game, even aside, I don't really know what to expect from this team going into the playoffs. I really have no idea. They have all the talent in the world. They could absolutely run it back and compete to defend for the Stanley Cup. But then there's this other glaring, what is this goaltending and what is this defense? And I really have no idea. And it's going to be fascinating to watch. It's worth noting that if they win tonight, they leapfrog the Kings and are third place in the Pacific. But as we talked about pre-show, guys, who would you rather play right now, the Oilers or the Stars? I feel like, I don't know, maybe the Oilers, just because, I don't know. I feel like that's just a trap either way you look at it. But getting back to this game, from a prop perspective, Eichel, 5 goals and 24 shots in his last 5 games. For him to get over 3.5 shots tonight is minus 145, which obviously is expensive. But if you want to get a little bit riskier with it, he does average just below 5 shots a game over his last 5 games. So 5+ shots is plus 160. So I like that as a little bit riskier. Also, DraftKings might fix this. So if you want to do this, I would jump on it now. Over 3.5 is, what did I say? Minus 145. But 4+ is minus 135. So if you want that little bit of extra kind of juice taken off, take the 4+ shots instead. But I like him 5+ shots, and for him to score a goal tonight is plus 135. So I like that from Jack Eichel. On the Edmonton side, they are also 6-3-1 in the last 10 games, 26-8-3 at home. The last 7 wins that they've had, they have scored 35 goals total in their last 7 wins, averaging 5 goals per win over the last 7. And for that reason, and what I talked about with the goaltending and what I just don't know what we're getting from this Vegas team, I'm taking the Oilers to minus 120. I would think about, I actually honestly would think about a puck line here. I think plus 195 is tremendous value for one of the best goal scoring teams in the league. So that's something to think about as well. Moving on to the last game of the night of zero importance. The Vancouver Canucks are hosting the Arizona Coyotes. Vancouver minus 250 at home. Plus 205 are the Coyotes on the road. Plus 105 is the over at 6.5. Minus 125 is the under. Plus 1.5 for the Coyotes is minus 125. Minus 1.5 for the Canucks is plus 105. We've started with John first for both of these games. Let's just keep it rolling. John, what do you see in this game tonight?
A little more comfort for Vancouver. Vegas, sorry, not Vegas. I meant to say Arizona. Arizona got smoked last night by Seattle, and I mean smoked. That's probably about as bad of a performance as I've seen this year from them. And now they got to go on. Now they got to go on the road and play Vancouver, is what I'm understanding from this. I don't like that at all. Not one bit for the Coyotes.
Yeah.
So I think I normally don't like Vancouver as a huge favorite, but I don't think I have any choice but to roll with it here. And I'm taking the puck line, though I'm scared at how low it is because I believe it's minus 105 right now for plus 105 for the
It's not
puck line. Yeah, actually, I take that back. You're right. It's not as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah.
So plus 10, I misread it. Plus 105 for the puck line for Vancouver. I think that's worth a shot. I think Arizona's depleted. Vancouver has work to do to keep Edmonton off their back to try to hang on to that top spot. Though you could argue whether or not they should get it, considering Nashville's who they likely play. But I think for now, Vancouver's going to play with what's in front of them. And I trust them to win by 2 here. Give me their puck line.
Absolutely love it. Andre, what about you, man? What do you see here?
My question for this game is whether or not the Yotes are going to score. They didn't yesterday. They lost 5-0. 2 games against the Canucks this season. They lost 2-1 both times. Both of those were in the calendar year 2024. So that's really it. Will Arizona score a goal? Will Arizona score more than 1 goal? I'm leaning towards no on both fronts. I think it's pretty obvious. I'm taking Canucks minus 1.5 here and the under. But that's what we should ponder this fine afternoon. Or I guess night.
Will Arizona score ever again? In Arizona? Will their next goal be scored in Utah? It's valid questions to be asked. Or Sacramento, since everyone's like going to Sacramento and then to Vegas, and who knows. So anyway, for me, hey buddy, what's up? It's a short slate. I can take time to say hi to my dude. How you doing, bro? He has these weird snack things that just I can smell them from like across the room. They're disgusting, but he loves them. So what can I do about it? Moving on to the game tonight. I'm taking Vancouver minus 1.5 here as well. This is all the time I need to take when it comes to the Coyotes. 5-5 their last 10, 12, 21-5 on the road. I don't know. You guys both kind of painted a beautiful picture of where the Coyotes are at right now. When it comes to Vancouver, 6-4 the last 10. Kind of like I was expressing concern about this team the other day, and then they come out and have one of their best games in a long time against the Vegas Golden Knights a few nights ago. I'm taking them -1.5. I don't need to dig too deep here. On the prop side of things, Connor Garland has been a little dark horse for this team over the last few weeks. 3 goals, 18 shots over his last 5 games. Over half a point for him tonight is -120. For Garland to get over 2.5 shots is -166. But if you want to beef that up to get a little risky with it, 4 shots +155. But for him to score a goal, which is the one that I like the most, the points is good at -120. For him to score tonight is +205. And then Andre, as we said yesterday, your boy JT Miller, 8 assists in his last 5 games. For him to get over 1.5 points is +160. For him to get an assist is pretty juiced up at -145, but I like JT Miller getting over 1.5 points tonight. All right, that is it for the 3 games on the ice tonight. Let's now move over to our best bets, brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Right now with our promo code SportsAddict, get 10% off any sports card in the First Round Collectibles store. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off. And with our promo code SportsAddict, not only do you get 10% off of regular price items, but sales items as well. Head over to firstroundcollectibles.com today. Promo code SportsAddict for 10% off any card in the store. That's the number 1, STRoundcollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans. John, let's start with you, dude. What do you got as your best bet in this small slate tonight?
The Blackhawks are not going to be my best bets. I'm not that crazy, even though I do think they can win that game.
Oh,
all right,
thank God.
My real best bet, I'm going right back to where we left off. Canucks puck line, love it tonight against the Yotes. Think the Yotes, tall order after getting shut out last night, to go on the road and go back to back. Mark, stop making me laugh. I didn't do what you think I did.
Sorry, behind the scenes.
To the audience.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. That's my fault. Go ahead.
All right. So Canucks puck line, I like it tonight. After getting shut out last night, don't think the Yotes have a chance at all in this game, especially going on the road right after that. So give me the Canucks -1.5 is my best bet.
Andre, what about you, man? What do you got for your best bet tonight?
John, can you repeat that one more time for me, please?
Yeah. What do you got in your best bet tonight? It's my fault. I derailed the show. I put something in the private. It's whatever. It's my fault. What do you got, homie?
Thinking is hard.
Yeah, it is. It's tough.
What's your best bet, Akshay?
Okay, well, can I hear yours again real quick so I can put it in?
The Canucks puck line.
All right.
I can save you for a sec. I'll give mine real quick, and you can regain your thoughts, and you can come back at us. Mine's short and sweet. I'm really happy that John did not take the Black Hawks because I'm taking the St. Louis Blues -1.5, dude. I get what you're saying. I think that this season still has something to be played for St. Louis. I'm taking -1.5 at +105. I really think this team can do it tonight. They're at home, sneaky good team at home. Chicago on the road. They're bad everywhere, but they're even worse at home. I really, really like Jordan Kyrou over 3.5 shots. I really like that prop, but this guy, I cannot make him a best bet. I just can't. I like it. I'm going to bet it in my own life, but that shot prop, he has he gets like 35 shots in one game and then gets one in the next game, and I just don't know what to make of it. So, but I will take St. Louis at -1.5 at +105. Andre, what do you got as your best bet?
Yeah, I'm going to go with they've already beat the Golden Knights on home ice. I know McDavid's banged up, but that doesn't really scare me. I think this team has become competitive besides more than just the McDavid-Draisaitl power play production. So I'm taking the Oilers to win on home ice.
Amazing. Yeah, that is something that we didn't mention. He was held out of practice yesterday, dealing with a minor injury. I haven't seen whether or not he'll play tonight, but I'm right there with you. Even without him, I do think that the Oilers can win. Awesome. Good stuff, gentlemen. Andre, we got that parlay number cooked up for us or what?
We do. It's plus 670. The Canucks puck line is +105. The Blues puck line is +105, and the Oilers money line is -120.
Amazing. Love it. All right. Excellent show, gents. Sorry for that little behind-the-scenes derailment at the end there. I couldn't help myself. But everybody, thank you so much for watching. Whether you are watching live, which our live numbers keep on going up, so thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate you guys. Whether you are tuning in throughout the day, either way, thank you. Good luck on your bets tonight. Keep an eye out on Total Apex Sports. Andre will be talking sports all day long, so keep an eye out on Total Apex Sports. Good luck on your bets. Yeah, we're almost there, boys. We're at the finish line. Next Thursday and Friday, we will be doing our Eastern and Western Conference playoff previews. And by next Saturday, it's playoff time, baby. You only got to deal with the Blackhawks and the Coyotes just for a little while longer. We're almost done. Shout out to everybody. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching.